Hello everyone and welcome to today's stream. Everything seems to be working off the bat, which is wonderful. So let me introduce you to today's work that we're going to be doing. I am currently doing the paint work, the color for a new character. Not something I've streamed yet. They are an Eladrin Sorcerer, multi-class. I believe they've got a level of Druid in there as well. But they're a very lovely character with a really nice color palette that I quite like. I love kind of cool blues and greens. So this is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. As you can see, I've already done the kind of face and portrait kind of painting. I was really kind of trying to develop my style at the moment. I was really going for a nice, rich but realistic paint scheme for the skin, and obviously the hair and some of the clothes I've started out. As you can see, this chap has like a cool leather overcoat which has these runes pressed into it and decorating it. So that's what we're going to be carrying on with today. And in fact, the first thing I'm going to do is carry on with this lovely coat. That will require a new layer, but before we do that, I'm just going to go ahead and name a few of these that I haven't named yet, because obviously when I'm not streaming, I'm very bad and I don't name my layers anywhere near as often as I should. We have our line art up here. I spelled lines wrong, but that's fine. We know what it means. I also spelled shiny wrong somehow. Wonderful. Okay, so with this very dramatic music, let us begin today's paint. Right, so I'm going to start with the top half of the coat that they are wearing. I'm going to grab a blue and kind of base it on the blue that's already present in the scene, rather than introducing a wildly different tone. And then I'm just going to start painting in the base layer for the coat. Simple as that. Not a particularly epic painting for epic music, but we do what we can. Yeah, I hope everyone's had a very lovely week so far. It's been pretty good here. As you can probably tell, I am rocking a new pair of headphones today. My partner incredibly sweetly got me a new pair of headphones, which are much better for streaming. For my birthday, which is on Monday. So I am thinking I might try and do a bonus stream on Monday. If anyone fancies joining in for that, like a Monday birthday stream, and either I'll work on some completely personal stuff, like my own characters on Monday, or I might do something else, who knows. But if folks would like me to do a little kind of bonus birthday stream on Monday, that's something I'm kind of planning I might do. But yeah, it's I hope everyone else has had a good week. The sun has kind of returned here in the UK. We had a heat wave, it's calmed down, and now it's getting really hot and sunny again, so thank you so much, everyone. 7 Warlocks, don't worry, it's not late. My actual birthday is like the Monday coming, so I'm gonna be 26, I think. I've kind of lost track, but it feels kind of wild. I don't know if I'm ready for these numbers to get bigger anymore. But yeah, gosh, very busy at the moment. I am kind of doing all the prep work to have commissions opening again very soon. In fact, commissions are actually opening next week, so it would seem, for Patreon supporters anyway. And then general commissions to everyone else will be opening up the following week, so watch the space. Time isn't real. Indeed. Oh, and I do really appreciate the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference there. That's one of my favourite sci-fi IP ever. Alright, let's continue on this side, just outlining at the edges of our coat. And thank you so much to Lucius55 for the follow. Very, very kind. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm not using a tiny brush for this. As long as you are basically inside your lines, you are fine. And thank you so much to Otterloon as well for the follow. Very, very sweet. Thank you. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it does feel really weird. The entirety of the year of being 25 has been sucked into the realm of COVID. But hey, that's happened for everyone, so we might as well just pretend that none of us aged a year. Thank you so much to Simon River 1989 and James Willis 95 for the follows. I hope you enjoyed the stream. We're nearly done with this little bit here. We just got to finish outlining the sleeve of this jacket, and then we can fill it in and start the shading process, which is what is probably more interesting to look at for everyone. Okay. But yeah, I have another thing that I've been working on today that, why not? I will tease you now. So, disclaimer, I haven't actually caught up and watched last night's episode of Exandria Unlimited yet, but I have seen the character designs and, ooh, they are absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, in the UK, I don't, well, sometimes I most certainly do stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning working on things, but last night was not one of those nights. I'm trying to improve my sleep schedule, so I would be able to watch until Monday, but I love the character so much I've actually started working on as a bit of an exercise. Let me just zoom out a bit. This is a piece I've been working on earlier today, because I just love the design of Opal so much. I'm a sucker for those kind of colours. So yeah, I'll be probably finishing that this afternoon, but for stream today, we're working on this fella. I probably shouldn't have so many projects open in Photoshop because it slows everything down, but I'm terrible at closing tabs, what can I say? Alright, we're just gonna fill in... Nope, did not close that off. Now I did. I think that should be closed now. There we go. Fill those in, and then what we can do is we can just zoom in a little closer and tidy up these nasty little white lines that the fill tool leaves behind for me so kindly. Aw, 7 Warlocks, thank you so much. That's very, very kind. And thank you so much to Captain Morgan for the follow as well. I hope you enjoy the stream. Man, life is so easy with Bluetooth headphones. My eyes have been opened. I don't know if you ever noticed, but when I would stream with my old headphones, the cable always got hooked under the arm of my chair, and so I'd always kind of be like, huh, and then catch myself. The number of times I yanked out the cable just by moving back too quickly. Okie dokie, almost done. There's this. Just finishing up, coming up this inner side here. Double checking we haven't missed anywhere. Good, okay, so I'm gonna do the top and bottom parts of the coat separately just because sometimes it can make things a little bit more manageable to break them down. And that goes for all sorts of disciplines, but especially for this one. Oh, Captain Morgan, thank you so very much. That's very, very kind. I'm very pleased you're able to join us today. Cool, so for shading fabrics especially, I create a layer above the previous one. I ensure that I've selected the clipping mask. I mean, obviously currently it says release clipping mask. I set it to multiply as a blending mode, and then I go up and grab a very pale pink, like so. And then I'm going to grab the fill tool and fill in this entire layer, which kind of just makes it universally this darker, slightly purpley colour. And then we are going to switch our brush colour back to white, and we're going to start removing shadow. And I talk about this quite a lot when I'm streaming, but personally, I find it a lot easier to add light than to add shadow, which is why I tend to paint the light on rather than paint the shadow on. And you can get a really nice soft shade using this technique. And the reason I'm using a white brush and not just erasing it is because when I go to the kind of sampling eyedropper tool and I change that to, say, current layer, I can sample almost a gradient between my shadow color and the white tone, which makes blending these shadows a whole lot more doable. Unit A87. I probably could use a color erase mask tool. Absolutely, I probably could. It's just not kind of the way I learn. And I think the thing about art for me, it's very similar to, like, for example, learning a new method of hand multiplication. I have, like, just got, you know, muscle memory and just used to doing it one way. And yeah, it's just kind of how I've always done it, really. It's true, I could probably save time using some tips and tricks and stuff, but You know how it is. And also, I'm a bit of a control freak when it comes to my work. And I like to kind of painting by hand around all the edges makes me sure that I've got them all looking neat, if that makes sense. Yeah, I paint like I'm painting a miniature. That's very much kind of, and like I say, when I'm doing the highlight layer, which I'll probably be doing in a little bit, I'll probably mention edge highlighting a lot, because that's the approach I take to painting highlights a lot of the time. Hey, the Comma Bandit, welcome. Lovely you could make it. No problem at all. Always happy to answer arty queries here. Well, that's the thing. I came from a very traditional painting background, right? When I was learning to paint, I started with acrylics because oil paints are really expensive. Well, no. Technically, I started with watercolors because I think almost everyone starts with watercolors. Then I used a lot of acrylics when I was at school. And then when I got a bit older, they let me use oil paints. And out of all traditional painting mediums, oil paints, oh, delightful. I love they're so blendable. The colors are so kind of hearty and rich. And they don't, even when you dilute them with like oil and stuff, it's different. It's different to acrylics. It's hard to describe. And the fact that they stay wet for freaking ages, so you can come back the next day and still be able to push the paint around and blend is just lovely. Right, I'm just gonna do a quick save because whenever Photoshop gets a bit laggy like that, I feel concerned. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've done oil painting or almost any traditional medium, to be honest, just because there's so much time taken in setting up things like easels or even just paper and your paints and stuff, that digital just helps with accessibility so much. I mean, true, I have to have like a desk permanently set up with my tablet and everything, but it's still not quite the faff that traditional painting can be. Yeah, sorcerers. I haven't painted a lot of sorcerers actually. I've done a lot of wizards. I get a lot of commissions for wizards. Sorcerers just seem to be a slightly less popular class out of the casters. That being said, I haven't done that many druids lately either. This character is technically, I believe they are a level 19 sorcerer with one level of druid just kind of tossed in there. Yeah, I tend to get, by far the majority of my caster commissions are wizards. I get quite a lot of bards as well, actually, now I think about it. I've had quite a few paladins as well. A lot of fighters lately, actually. Hey, Sleepy Nord, welcome to the stream. For some reason, my voice is really kind of low and scratchy today. I don't know why that is. It might be because I've been doing a lot of Ring Fit Adventure lately, and it's just destroying my lungs. That could be it. You think it would make my lungs stronger in the long run, so I'm gonna take it as a good thing. Alright, just gonna keep adding these shades of kind of light through here. There's gonna be a lot more darkness on this side because it's mostly obfuscated by the arm and the collar. So we're gonna leave that mostly dark. Just gonna do a tiny bit of blending here and there. Like so. And then we're going to take this shade to the other side and kind of start to give the other side some nice structure as well. Yeah, I love, so it's kind of similar with plain touch races. I think things like Sorcerers are so much fun because you've got the mystery of where did my power come from? And I love exploring those sorts of themes. Like, it's one of my favorite things is kind of personal development and discovery in D&D characters. For example, my current character, my druid, Dhampir, Nemi, like, she was very changeling the lost or changing the dreaming star. She was stolen away by what was essentially like a clan of druid vampires from her family when she was a baby. So she's got no idea who her real family are. But I'm very excited to kind of explore all those concepts in game and stuff. Oh yeah, Connections to be Upheld is very fun. Warlocks, oh, amazing. But you know how much I love Warlocks. I love warlocks where you've got like either a super unknowable eldritch patron that's just like you literally cannot perceive of it, or your patron is like a Twinkie asshole like Artigan from Critical Role. Those are my two vibes. That's the two that I like. I absolutely love Jester and Artigan's relationship. Like, it's just so much fun to play that sort of thing. Because the rest of the party gets a laugh out of it as well, and that's the important thing. Alright, let's just put a little bit of shading on the... Whoops, didn't mean to open brush settings there. Go away! Thank you. Let's just turn down brush size. When Photoshop catches up with me, I'm just 3 steps ahead of Photoshop and it doesn't like it. Thank you so much to Sal North and Poskios for the follows. Sorry I missed those a minute ago. So I haven't actually, I can't watch live obviously in the UK. Well, I could, but I'd have to stay up until like 3 in the morning, and I used to do that a lot, but I'm starting to try and have better bedtime habits, so not currently. But I'll watch it as soon as it kind of comes out on YouTube on Monday. That being said, I love the character designs very much, and I've already started doing some fan art of Opal over here, because what a beautiful color palette. What can I say? I love iridescent shiny jackets as well. It just was doing things for me, so yeah, so I'll probably be finishing that this afternoon and uploading it on my Twitter. But yeah, very excited to catch it. It sounds like it was such a great time, and Abria's DMing is just fantastic, so very excited to catch that. Alright, tiny bit more highlight just down here. We've got these folds of the coat, some of which will have light, some of which won't. There we go. Yeah, I'm feeling cool about this. I like how this is coming along. Yeah, if someone gets a message from me before noon, it's like, it tends to shock them. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to deepen some of these shadows. So we're going to take a darker pink, because pink is what I use for shading, because a lot of shadows IRL take on a purpley pink. Well, it depends on your lighting, but I find purples and pinks make a great kind of standard shadow color that I tend to stick to quite a lot. Thank you so much, Les F, for the cheer for the bits. It's very, very kind. Thank you so much. Okay. So with this darker pink, we're basically just adding in those deeper shadows in areas where light is super not allowed. Gosh, I want to play D&D some more. Had a whole game on Wednesday and I'm still hungry. But it's very cute. I was showing my homebrew stuff to my current D&D group, and they were really enthusiastic about testing it out when my current Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign ends. So that's really cute of them. I'm very like shy about world building, but I've got back into it lately, partially inspired by the Adventure Zone, because their world building episodes, the quiet year of their new season. I finished the last one, episode 5, last night, and I had tears because it was so good. Gosh, it just really captured the emotion of like the balance arc for me, and I love what it made me want to love world building again. Oh, Lezev, I hope everything's okay. I'm sorry that life's been throwing curveballs at you lately, but hopefully you're doing okay. I'll be hoping for the best for you. But yeah, one of my plans for the next couple of weeks is I'm currently writing some homebrew lineage, actually, or homebrew kind of race for people inspired by the Green Man mythology, which pops up in loads of different places and is quite common in Celtic mythology, which is what my world is based on. And I'm probably gonna do some art and then release this custom homebrew lineage on my Patreon as a little extra, if anyone's interested in that, because I'm just really excited to build worlds right now. Alright, let's just put some nice shadows in kind of the interior of this coat as it flips over. you can see how much adding these darker shadows has just added a lot of depth to the right hand side. And yeah, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, quite unsurprisingly. Yeah, that's the thing, like, the Eladrin is kind of that vibe, that kind of dryad-y vibe, but for me it was a bit, somehow it's too specific and too vague at the same time. What I'm doing with this custom lineage is I'm gonna make it very similar to the Dhampir or the Hexblood in Van Richten's, which is they are lineages, so it can kind of stack on top of whatever your character originally was. So for example, the Green Man, or the Green Folk as I've called it, this could be a blessing that they've received from a patron deity, or it could just be that their spirit has kind of become won or overtaken by the wild. Like, there's lots of, I've got like a little table for different ways that you came into this power, which has been really fun to write, because one of the things that not a lot of people know about me is I really enjoy writing as well. I just don't get to do it as often, so it's very fun for me to be able to share that. Thank you so much to SailcraftX, I hope that's correct, for the follow. Thank you so much. Okay, so we've got a nice kind of shade going on for this jacket. One thing I do want to do, it needs to match up a little bit more closely with the collar. I think the main problem we're having is it's a bit too on the purple side. So I'm going to go into Hue Saturation. I'm going to start by playing with the saturation, turning that down. But turning the lightness up ever so slightly because I want a bit more of a contrast with the color. And then I'm going to push it away from purple, which is that way, slightly towards green. Yeah, I think that's a better tone. What tablet am I using? I am using the Cintiq 16, not the Pro. The Cintiq 16 that came out, I think it was 2018? No, it would have been 2019, I think. I can't remember. It was the year I got made redundant from where I used to work. I've had it for a few years now, and it's a really, really nice tablet. It costs around, I think it's around $420. Hey, I think it's around 420 quid, which is, I'd say, quite a lot, but compared to the value of normal Cintiqs, it was much more affordable than most other things at the time. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add highlights. This works very similar to edge highlighting. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I kind of think like a miniature painter a lot, because I also paint miniatures. Yeah, basically we're just going to identify the places where the most light's going to be crashing in and reflecting off of the substance. So just going to be adding it to these areas. So for example, the kind of highest parts of these folds tend to attract highlights, like so. Coming around, and you kind of follow the shapes of shadows you've already made, and it really helps them kind of stand out. Hey, SailcraftX, thank you so very much. That's very kind. And then finally, we'll go around the cuff there. Thank you so much to All Time Emma for the follow as well. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Then, yeah, we're going to basically just apply the same thing a little bit down here. And then exactly the same technique over on the left-hand side. And you always want to be moving the brush in the direction of, like, parallel to the folds. You don't want to go kind of perpendicular to the folds if you can help it. Okay, there we go. There is a nicely shaded coat. I'm going to add a little bit of variation. For example, I'm going to take the color for the collar, and I'm going to make the cuffs and these little wrist, I don't know what they're called on posh tailored coats. You have like the wrist things that tighten up. I don't know what those are called. You get them on like detective coats and stuff. I paint a lot of things that I don't have any remote idea of what their names are. It must be said. And because this is underneath this shadow layer, it is still kind of affected by it, and we won't need to repaint the shadows, which is a good reason to do your shadows on a separate layer. Obviously I know this bit's the cuff, but I'm thinking about like, okay, this bit's a bit clear lit. You know when you have like a mini belt that goes around the end of your sleeve? Like, what does one call it? I do not know, it is a mystery. Alright, almost done now. Just gotta fill in this last one. Then you can give these guys a little bit of custom highlighting of their own. And of course we've got a little metal buckle down here which I'll need to render. Alright, fantastic. So you can kind of see how adding these slightly different colours just helps add a bit of depth to the design of the coat. A cinch! I mean, that works. I mean, yeah, it does what it says on the tin. And I'm actually thinking I might go up to the overlines layer for this, you know? Just makes it ever so lighter. Little bit, little bit. What sort of brushes am I using for the colouring and the shading? At the moment, everything I've done so far today has all been one single brush, which is called, it's just in the general brushes tab. Ignore the wet media folder, that shouldn't be there. In the general brushes in Photoshop, it's the fourth one down. It's hard round pressure size. It's just a standard Photoshop brush. And the important thing is you want to go into the brush settings and turn on transfer. And make sure it's got these settings. The opacity jitter is set to minimum, and the control is pen pressure. And the same with the flow jitter. What this means is the harder you press, the more opaque your line will be. And the softer you press, the more transparent it'll be, which makes it fantastic for blending. And yeah, it's almost the only brush I use. Which is great, because I think it just comes with default with Photoshop. I must admit, like, I've tried using kind of fancy brushes that do specific things, and most of the time I just don't really get on with them. There's only about 1 or 2 brushes I use regularly that aren't this brush. One of them is a particular brush I use for painting hair and fur, and the other one is for like splatters, like spells or blood. I think that one came preloaded with Photoshop as well, actually. Okay, so we've got all of those nice looking highlights and stuff in. So I think the next thing to do is start working on this breastplate, which I believe takes on a kind of greenish to purple color. It's very organic, very kind of druidic in nature, you could say. So we're going to once again need a new layer. Let's just name this one coat 1 for now, because obviously we are going to have a second coat layer later when we do the lower half of the jacket. Do I use the same brush for lines? Yeah, Sailcraft X, I did actually use exactly the same brush for the line art. Usually around a size 6 is like my standard line art brush, so very, very small. Yeah, same brush. Alright, so a new layer, I'm going to just call this one Armor. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this layer by layer, gradually merging them. And I'll probably tweak the colours a lot as we go, but yeah, we're just going to get started. So I'm going to do something a bit weird. I'm going to start with a colour I've pulled from the colour of his eyes. Just because I like, rather than introducing new colours, if I can derive them from somewhere else on the piece, then I will. And so I just start by putting down a flat base fill for this top piece, oops, of the armour. No problem at all, no problem at all. Just filling in this little bottom spike down here. Okay, wonderful. So the next thing to do is to start, let's kind of do that nice kind of shading. So what we're going to do is, now do I want to do this like this? Is the question, because I kind of want to be able to alter colours of the whole thing. No, you know what? I'm going to be a bit braver today. I'm actually just going to colour in this whole organic kind of leaf vein patterned area. I'm going to do that as one, because I want to be able to do some cool colour effects on it in a bit. So we're just going to do this whole kind of triangular spiky shape. Like so, just coming around here. And then making sure we don't go over the belt. Okay, and then I'm just gonna, just to speed up time, just gonna fill that in, go around those edges. And there we go, there is the base plate. And I like this shade of purple to start us off. I think it's perhaps a little dark, and we want it to contrast a little bit with the coat, so I'm gonna just raise it up a tiny bit, tear down the saturation a little. And we'll play with that because it's about to get a bit darker. Because we are going to make a new layer on top, very much like before. Clipping mask, multiply, pale pink, and we are going to fill the whole lot in. And then, very much like before, we are going to take a white brush and start removing the shadows. I'm going to start this on the actual kind of vein type designs because these will be more or less free of shadows. But not entirely. We'll probably add some back in here and there. Is there a difference between clipping layers and clipping mask layers? It might, yeah, so basically these are clipping masks. I tend just to say clipping layers for short, so I'm pretty sure they're the same thing. I might be wrong. My Photoshop terminology isn't great because I'm not very technically minded when it comes to that sort of thing. I just kind of do it. But in my mind, for all intents and purposes, they're the same. Okay. Nearly done with this bit. Again, we'll be adding shadows in certain places back in as we go, but this is just to give us a starting point. Oh yeah, Captain Morgan, like, you could ask me how to do 1,000,001 technical things in Photoshop and I'd be like, huh? Because most of the time I just paint stuff and don't really use like filters or adjustment layers. Adding a little bit of light to the unshaded portions of these bits. Let's drop down a slightly smaller brush. Now I really want this to look quite organic and visceral almost. No, don't worry. I don't use complicated settings. Beyond things like multiply, I don't use a ton of like adjustment layers and stuff. I just kind of paint what I see. When it comes to like choosing colors, often I'm just eyedropping from other places. So, no, nothing too technical here. Okay, so thank you so much to Volcorn for the follow. I'm just going to grab a slightly darker shadow color and spend a little bit just adding some shadows to the places which are a little bit darker. Of course, this bit coming down here is darker. And some of the tighter corners will naturally be a bit darker too. Like so. And then obviously places that the coat is kind of going over the top of will be darker too. Same with the shirt collar. Alright, you kind of see how it's starting to come along now. At this point, we can start having a bit of fun with the overlines layer. So I'm going to jump up here. I am going to grab, now we're going to start to play with slightly different tones. I'm going to start moving this towards blue. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a highlight color that's a more bluey tone and a bit lighter. And then I'm going to make the brush nice and small and use it to just add extra light to the lightest points. And I especially want to use it along the bottom so it contrasts nicely with the shadow I'm about to add underneath it and on the top. Again, this is very much the edge highlighting I was talking about earlier. And placing a bright highlight next to a dark shadow can kind of bring them both out, but you want to be careful you only do it in areas where it kind of makes sense. Like sometimes the juxtaposition can just look a bit weird. And I'm not kind of going crazy with this color. I'm just kind of adding it into a few kind of key places. There you go, you kind of see how that's coming along. And then finally I'm gonna, again, bulk up the brush and softly add a little bit to some of these larger, like, innie sections. I don't know what to call them other than innie sections. Makes them sound like a belly button, which is kind of gross. Alright, so zoom out a bit, you can kind of see how that looks. Very organic and kind of creepy and weird. I love it. And then I'm just going to add a tiny bit more light to the very, very brightest points. After all, this is meant to be kind of like leather armor. And leather be shiny at its kind of lightest points. Hey, Fresher X, welcome. I'm doing very well, thank you. Very chill today. Alright, cool. There you have the first layer of this armor. Now, I believe it is time to kind of move down a bit. I say that, but then I just want to see. I see something and I want to try it. See what I think. Just adding a little bit of definition to some of these edges. Do I like it, is the question. Yeah, it kind of works. I'm going to leave it like that. Cool. Going back down to where we were, we can now start to do the same process on the next layer. Going back to current, swing our brush to white. Once again, removing shadows. Again, just jumping up to about 10 and brush 10 brush, do it. Starting with these kind of vein structures. And I'm not going to go along this top bit because, as you're going to see in a minute, that's going to be under some much darker shadow. As you can see, kind of coming up there. Kind of like following little roads and streets almost. Quietly Frey, thank you so much for joining us just for a bit today, and I hope you I hope the rest of your workday goes well and you can enjoy your weekend. Okay, so now same as above, making the brush nice and big, but not that big. We can remove some of the central areas of these kind of larger, kind of holy bits. Weird question, what time is it there? With me, it is currently 20 minutes to 6 in the evening. So dinner time, in other words. Although I'm pretty sure our fridge is empty, so I'm going to have to order in takeaway. And, I mean, that's good, but, money. Oh, and don't forget to save, thank you very much. I would not like to lose everything, thank you. Very much. I love that chat reminds me to save. It's very, very sweet, and I'm grateful for it, because I'm a nincompoop and do not save my work often enough. Had a big crash last week, and gosh, I nearly just stormed out of the room. Argentina, wow, you're watching from a long way away. Okay, same as before, we're going to grab that darker shadow colour and start adding, well, darker shadows. Not like the TV series, or the very bad movie. We see kind of shadows cast by the coat there. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I am UK based. I'm based around the Bristol area, so South England. Alright, let's add in some dark shadows, which will use the edges of these insidey bits, just to get some nice texture. Gosh, for some reason, I don't know if anyone else gets this, streaming makes me so hungry. I mean, I'm quite a hungry person anyway. I have quite a healthy appetite, but gosh. Thank you so much to Lightinius for the follow. I hope you enjoy the stream. Alright, that's the next layer of shadow done. Time for the accompanying light. So, back up to overlines. Very similar from before. We're going to grab that purple that we were using earlier, and we're going to drop down to, I think a 7 will be appropriate, and just start highlighting some of these veins. Oh, Wiltshire, that's actually not too far. Wiltshire is, I think, where my favourite place in the world is, aka Centre Parcs, Longley. I have so much, like, my nostalgia trip for Centre Parcs is ridiculous. I love it. Like, for a while we went, like, every single year. Obviously, COVID has slightly put a spanner in that particular works. Alright, so let's continue this up here. Obviously the light's going to get a little bit gentler as we get into these slightly more shadowed areas. I'm just going to put a tiny suggestion at the top of these bits here. And then, as before, we're just going to add a dash of this lighter purple into some of these holes. See, I'm not the only one that thinks Centre Parcs is rad as heck. Okay, and then as before, we're going to take that really bright colour. Small brush, 9's too big, 6 will do, and just use it on the brightest parts, which will probably be down, mostly down the centre. There we go. And then, as before, I'm going to use it, a slightly tempered version of it, to almost just add some little edges to these channels, give them a bit of texture, just by painting in a very scratchy manner. Almost like cobwebs. Just because I want it to look really organic. Okay, second layer done. It's a long process, but we're getting there. Okay, moving down to the next bit. Same process as before, unfortunately repeated. Sorry that it's not probably the most exciting thing in the world. But, you know, art is a process. Okay, so we are, as before, slightly bigger brush, 9. Just going to erase most of the shadows from the veins. And as these bits are getting a bit smaller, we get a little bit quicker. finishing up here. Lovely. Okay, then adding colour to those centres. This particular character is a commission. What's their name? I can't actually remember, but they are a Sorcerer Druid multi-class that I've been commissioned to paint. I'll be probably painting one of my own characters. If I do a bonus birthday stream on Monday, I will probably paint one of my own characters then. Probably Nemi, because I love playing Nemi right now. Whoops! Don't know quite how it did that. Oh, it's because I'm still on current layer. Let's switch to all layers, make sure we eyedrop the correct colour. Whoops. And then continue. This is when we can start to paint over these lines a bit, which I find quite satisfying. I really enjoy painting over the line work. I wish I could draw more of my characters. I haven't really done a proper painting piece of any of my characters lately. I just don't really have time. But it's good fun when I can do it. Alright, let's grab that slightly darker shadow. And, whoops, I'm on the wrong layer. Bonk, down here. First of all, heavy shadow cast by the leather plate above this one. Shadow cast by the coat, and then we'll move in and do those little internal shadows. Hey, Stickman is where everyone starts, okay? It's where I started. And then you move on to Balloon Men. And that's like level 2. Yeah, we all have to start somewhere. I was just lucky enough to start a long time ago. So I have quite a lot of years to go off of. Okay, now let's go back to them overlines. Add a little bit of light in these pockets. I call them a different thing every time I talk about them, don't I? Okay, and then as before, that brightest colour is going to come into some key areas. So mostly at this front point, we'll come up some of these little veins as well. And then little scratchy edging bits just around some of the bottom pieces. Alright, that's another layer done. We're nearly there now. Kind of on the last two. Actually, I'm just going to add a tiny bit here. There we go. Just to, you know. Cool. Next bit. As before. In fact, I might do the next few like all in one go. Yeah, because I'm lazy. Hey, it's alright. Start whenever you like. You know, I won't, you know, so some things I definitely found easier to pick up as a child. Some skills like learning a musical instrument I found easier as a kid. Learning a language, definitely easier as a kid. But I'm still kind of learning very new art techniques. Every time I start to get like an intense art block, I try and do something new, and I find that really helps. Because usually art block is like your brain telling you that like you're able to now see more flaws in your work than you could before, because your brain's kind of getting better at looking at your work, which is great because it means you've got a more critical eye, because it means your brain is getting better at seeing things, getting better at appraising color, light, and shadow, which means that the more you paint, you'll be able to put that kind of knowledge into practice. And I find the best way to get out of that stage is to try something new, try a different style, like, and use that to kind of improve your work. jump straight up to that overlines layer, kind of see the difference it makes having it there. And yeah, we're gonna get on with that paler purple. Oh, that's really nice. Unit A87, that sounds really lovely. When I was first learning, my grandma taught me a lot of watercolor when I was very small. And that definitely taught me a lot. Digital was something I had definitely like learned all by myself, because when I started doing digital about 10 years ago, I didn't know anyone else who did digital art. Like, no one at my school did it, no one taught it, and so it was something I kind of picked up slowly myself. I used to get the Imagine FX magazines a lot when I was around that age, around the age of 15, and I would kind of pick those apart and like copy parts of them to kind of learn and improve, and I found that was a really useful way to improve. Oh, thank you very much. Well, you know, I'm always happy to answer any questions that anyone might have regarding the process. I'm always happy to help if I can. So yeah, if you have any burning digital art questions, throw them at me. Okay. While we're here, let's just take this darker shadow to the next level as well. Do I do commissions at all? Yeah, no, absolutely, and welcome as well. Thank you so much. Hey, Handicap. Oh gosh, I said that terribly, but thank you very much for the follow. This particular piece is a commission. I do commissions fairly often. At the moment, my commissions are closed, but if you are interested, I'm opening commissions for Patreon supporters next week, and then for just general open commissions the week after. I don't know how many slots I'm going to have for general commissions once I've done the Patreon ones, because they're probably going to go pretty quick. But if you want to keep up with that, then the best place to keep an eye on it all is on my Twitter, because that's kind of like, that's where I kind of post the most. It's like my social hub. Yeah, okay, cool. With all that shading done, let's get back to the overlines layer for the last few bits of highlight. I love painting super organic style armor. Organic style designs are definitely more my specialty than metallics and more industrial style. Oh, no problem, Handicap, no problem at all. And thank you. Okay, let's add those few bits of the brighter highlight. And then we can kind of take a little zoom out and think about what we want to do to it next. Okay, so that's that front of the breastplate looking fly. So you kind of see the difference the overlines makes, adds quite a lot of depth, and the difference that's the original layer and that's the shadow. So what I want to try doing is messing around with a few things. First of all, I want to try turning down the saturation on the shadows and maybe pushing them towards blue a little bit more. After all, the surrounding area is the coat, which is much more blue. So I think that makes sense. Then the armor itself, I'm going to put on a little clipping mask there, and I think I'm just going to go on current layer, make sure we collect the right color. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to play with adding a bit of color variation. So you can just gently see there'll be areas that are a bit pinker, and then areas that are a bit more purple showing up. Because sometimes it's good to have a bit color variation in what you're doing. So for example, I want to add some really kind of purpley bits up here. We can go so far as to take it into blue just to see what it looks like. That's the thing. You can be quite experimental. Just all kind of adds to make it look a bit more organic. And sometimes you go a bit far, and that's okay, because what we can do is we can mess around some more. We can take down saturation. We can make it darker. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Hee I like it. Kind of liked it a bit darker, actually. I like the contrast. Yeah, that's fun. I like that. Very chitinous. Lovely. Okay, so the next thing to do is to do the rest of this kind of leather breastplate they're wearing. It's a bit less intricate than the bit we just did, which I'm actually just gonna go and help it stand out a tiny bit more by grabbing, let's put that on all layers, a nice dark purple, and a teeny tiny baby brush just to go over some of these hairlines here, just so it stands out nicely from the shirt. There we go. I just wanted that line a little bit heavier, you know. Cool, so we have the armor layer. You can kind of see that's the shadow on top of it. So it's time to make another one. I'm not going to name it because eventually I'm going to probably merge all these together anyway. I'm going to use a color from the existing armor area and fill in these plates that are just underneath. And do the same on the other side. And then with that done, I'm not going to bother with a multiplier this time because we can kind of already see the direction our shadows are going, and I want to keep it similar to what's above. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint these directly on. And with these shadows, we can make that top part really kind of stand out. Obviously here we've got both the coat and the armor on top, causing shadows, so there'll be quite a lot of that bit in shadow. And then I'm just going to zoom in a bit, add a little bit of detail here. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Oh, which reminds me, I didn't think I was going to be excited for it, but I'm actually really excited for Blood Hunt, the VTM Battle Royale game they announced last week. I think it was last week, it might have been the week before. But so I was kind of looking forward to Bloodlines. I enjoyed the old Bloodlines game. It definitely had its issues, but it was like an interesting setup. And I really enjoy VTM as a game. Yeah, so I wasn't really expecting much from Battle Royale. I wasn't expecting to like it because I'm very much into the more kind of roleplay focus of VTM. But having seen it, it looks so pretty. And the fact that you've got like quite developed character customization makes me really happy, because that's basically what I want in all my video games, is character customization. No matter what I'm playing, character customization improves any game for me. But yeah, so there's a lot of cool things coming out soon. Thank you so much to Dark Elixir for the follow. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Okay, just gently adding a little bit of highlight down here. And thank you very much to Nerdy Drunken Monkey Goblin. I got that right. Yay, for the follow as well. Okay, cool. So the next bit is going to be... Can you see that there? Next bit is going to be darker. I think we're going to start this off dark. So it's almost going to be like a purpley black. In fact, whoops, went a bit too far there. That's going to be both of these lower bits, I think. Let's just zoom in a little bit. There we go. Just fill that in. Lovely. And then start shading. So, making sure we've got our clipping mask turned on. We're going to grab a darker, I'm going to push it towards red. And to start with the big picture shadows for now, because there's going to be quite a few of them. Let's switch up to a bigger brush actually. So we can soften out some of them a little bit more. smaller brush. Oh, that's way too big. Just to add the shadow underneath the top plate. Oh, Lezzo, thank you so much. If anyone enjoys the music in this stream, it's by an artist named Kai Engel, who does really fantastic ambient, royalty-free music and stuff. Alright, we can also now see a little bit of messiness in this layer above. Oh, Dig of the Cornflake, thank you so much. That's very, very kind. Thank you so much for the bit donation there. Bits, subs, they just make the day for small streamers like me. They really do. So thank you so very much. Okay, now let's just do a little bit of blending. I'm going to put a little bit of light down here as well. There we go. And yes, you can kind of tell I'm currently ignoring these buckles here. I'm going to be giving them some attention in a minute. So with that darker colour, we can just add the very darkest bits in. Shadows within shadows. Because at the end of the day, the coat's already quite dark, and we need it to contrast with that, so. Alright, fantastic. So let's jump up to overlines, just add a few little highlights to bring things out. Small brush, of course. Oops, that was a little messy. Let's just redo that. What tablet do I use? I use the Cintiq 16, which is a Wacom tablet. Came out a couple of years ago. It was like their first cheaper tablet, screen tablet they brought out. Because I couldn't afford the big Cintiqs, which is why I didn't have one prior to that. And it is, so far, I've had it a few years, it's been fantastic. It's been just what I needed. I find that I'm a lot slower without the screen tablets, like my brain struggles to consolidate the gap between my hand and my brain and what's happening on the screen. Hey Eladrin, welcome. Lovely to have you here as always. We're painting a lovely Eladrin gentleman. Okie dokie, I think it's time to do the buckles. There's also one over there we have to do. So we'll start with the straps and then do the buckle. For now we'll keep it on this layer. And we're going to start off very dark. These straps will essentially be black leather. Thankfully, it's not blazing sun outside right now, so I can actually see what I'm doing. Just fill in these bits as we go along. Lovely, that's the straps done. I'm going to do all the shading for these guys on the overlines layer because it's such a dark colour that the line art has already kind of disappeared. Hey Rusty, welcome! Oh, you made it, fantastic. Yeah, do you want to have a quick, there we go, there's a little zoomed out clip of how he's coming along. I hope it's all right. Sorry, I should have emailed you to let you know I was working on him today. It took too many emails to send. Right, just adding the little bits of light onto these straps. Oh, Eladrin. But yeah, I'm very well. It's been a good week. I'm excited because my birthday's coming up on Monday. I'm going to do a little bonus stream on Monday, I think, just to kind of not really party. I'll probably still be working, but I might work on one of my OCs for once, you know? And don't forget to save. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, Unit A 8 to 7. I know a lot of professionals who work on some of the top D&D products who use the non-screen tablets. Loads of them. I can't remember any names right now because I'm terrible with names, but just trust me when I say there are a lot of artists who don't need a, whatever, you choose not to use a Cintiq or don't find it necessary. Personally, I find it speeds up my work a lot, so it was a valuable investment. I also hadn't quite been made redundant yet when I bought it, so it was a little less risky at the time for me to buy. Would I buy one now? Probably. I'd probably just take the hit. Because it's worth it for if you're a professional, I think, who struggles with not kind of seeing what you're doing in front of you. I also have tried using an iPad for painting directly onto, and I know that works really well for some people. For me, I couldn't get on with it as well because I quite like a very heavy stationary thing to paint on. My tablet is just on my desk, it doesn't go anywhere, whereas with an iPad it's a little different. It's like a different seating arrangement, you could say. Oh, Rusty, thank you so much. I'm really happy you're enjoying him. Yeah, that's the other thing, Eladrin. I couldn't really use Photoshop on iPad because the version just wasn't as nice to work in, if that makes sense. So I was using Procreate, which is a good app, but it was taking me a long time to get used to a completely new interface. And that's if you're working in the industry and you've got a quota and you have to paint a certain amount every week. I just did at the time. I didn't really have time to put in the hours of training to get good at another piece of software after spending, 10 years getting good at Photoshop, if that makes sense. Yes, I've got your I've got the original email, Rusty, up with for reference, and I really like the direction the coloring went due to this character's story. It's just really sweet. All right, let's start adding a bit of light reflecting off of these metallic buckles. Also, I just want to say a massive thank you. Like 66 people in chat. I haven't had these numbers for ages. Thank you so much, everyone who is joining me today. It really, truly means a ton to streamers like me. Like engagement can be really tough, and so it's really wonderful to have people in chat like this. So thank you all so much. The number of the artist. And thank you very much, Andy10125, for the follow. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Alright, and finally we're just going to add some bright little points of light to these metallic elements just to make them really pop, I'm sorry, I shouldn't do the American accent. It's dreadful. Very insulting. Alright, we have buckles, we have straps. We have a breastplate, so let's go ahead and save before we lose everything. And yeah, we can just go ahead and working our way down the next part of the clothing, which will be the belt and then the breeches. What I'm going to do, I'm going to merge some of these layers together. Actually, am I going to do that now? No, I'll merge these two. Whoops, let's turn that back on. Let's merge these two. I'm going to call that armor 2. And then make a new layer for the belt. Ooh, right, let's go. What color is the belt going to be? I think we need to return to nature. I think a brown leather. The funny thing about painting brown is often I'll start with pink. Pink looks more brown than brown sometimes. Which is strange, but it's true. How about that? Indeedy. Oh, Andy, thank you very much. It's funny, actually. That seems to happen quite a lot. Like, people pop this on while they're painting miniatures, which just sounds like the most chill time ever, to be honest. I want to get back into painting some of my miniatures, but they are still kind of packed away after we moved. And I haven't had time to get all my paints out yet. Soon I will do it. Oh, thank you so much, Strangerling. That's very, very sweet. Tidy that up a bit, and then the last bit on the right hand side, followed up by this little tail here. Fill that in and just go over the nasty little white bits. Alright, there we go. There's the base for the belt. Like I say, pink looks more brown than brown. Oh, we've got Miniature Club over here. I love it. Oh, 7 Warlocks, Empire characters. Yeah, I need to get back doing some. I want to do some more world building for my Empire character. I want to write a bit of fiction about like the Dornish estate that she's living at, and do some cool writing ready for next game. Alright, so I'm not doing a multiply there for this one because I've painted so many belts in my time that I kind of know what my shadows are going to be color-wise. almost every D&D character will wear some number of belts. Because, you know, where are you going to stick all your tools and stuff? I say almost, because some don't. Strangerling, thank you so much. Yeah, comms will be opening soon. I've got to wrangle it, got to sort it out. Commissions for Patreon supporters are opening next week. Patreon supporters can guarantee themselves a spot. And the way it's going to work, slots will be open. I'll probably open them on Wednesday or so because I'm going home to visit my family at the weekend, and so I want to get done a few days before that. But the important thing to note is for Patreon supporters, that window will stay open for about 5 days. And as long as, even if you join now, if you can, you'll be able to submit the form like as long as it's after the 1st of July, because obviously like Patreon needs you to have done like a payment before you can get rewards and stuff for it. But yeah, so that's the plan. Commissions will be opening for patrons next week, non-patrons probably the week after, depending on how many slots are left. Cyber Spectre, welcome! Lovely to have you here. Right, now is where we actually use normal brown to do some highlighting. And the thing about highlights, I always use very quick, sharp strokes parallel to kind of the direction of the thing I'm painting, so it'll be running from the long side to the long side. Yeah, it's soon, isn't it? I've been very well, thank you. Yeah, it's been like, it got super hot. We had a bit of a heat wave here in the UK a few weeks ago, and that was quite tough. Streaming when it's super hot and we don't have aircon is quite difficult. But it's cooled down, which is wonderful, and I much prefer working when it's cool. But I hear you're getting roasted in the US at the moment, so you have my condolences. Alright, putting these final little highlights in place. There we go. Actually, I say final, I actually want this to be a bit more of a shiny belt. Yes, there is a pricing list on my Patreon. You have to scroll down a little bit, but it is public to view. That's for my previous, that was my previous price range. My prices are going to be going up a little bit for this round, just as I slowly get towards a professional working kind of wage. But it'll be like around 10%, I think. Okay, let's just add a tiny bit of highlight underneath these little holes in the belt. And then we can do the buckle, which I think is, I'm going to stick with this kind of cool tones. Or am I? Because we've got the green, and I miss painting gold. We'll start gold. I can always put an adjustment layer if I decide I don't want it to be gold. Let's go. Okay, so to paint a gold buckle, I'll usually start with a dark, fairly rich brown. And then I'll just fill in the flats, the whole area of the buckle. Like so. And then immediately I'm going to jump up to overlines where I do the majority of my detail work. I'm going to grab a slightly darker, slightly redder colour and just add in some parallel shade. Just a little bit like that, and then we can start having some fun going up the spectrum of colours. So we're going to go down to a 6 and put in a nice rich orangey tone to start us off. Like so, coming around that corner. Less prominent on the sides, but nice and bright in the kind of little locking mechanism of the belt. And then we're going to move up a little bit more towards gold and do the same thing. Oof, so warm. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it because I'm finally going out for a nice long walk on Sunday. For my birthday, we're going to a local place to us called the Arboretum, which is like a tree park, if that makes sense. But it's like some place some crazy rich Victorian gentleman went and collected a bunch of trees from around the world and made like a zoo for trees. It sounds weird, but it's gorgeous. It's one of my favorite places. And yeah, we're gonna go there on Sunday for a nice walk. I'm gonna get lots of photographs. Living the druid life, you know? I think it is the National Arboretum, actually, because it is pretty big. Okay, there we have a shiny belt buckle. You can kind of see we're going to be zooming out. The detail we've been going into zooming in has been quite extreme, but I think having the gold there is quite nice. It balances out the warm tones of the skin, so I'm just going to save again. Yeah, the National Arboretum's wonderful. If you want to go to a zoo for trees, go check it out. And Strangerling, thank you very much. It will be a happy Birthmas. I'm looking forward to it. Cool. So, it is trouser time, which is an odd sentence I realise now as I say it. Let's just name that belt. Belty? No, just belt. Trousers. Let me just double check my original email. Right, we have some nice proper brown trousers. Lovely. So, I want these to be a slightly different brown to the belt, so to make sure we're not too close, I'm gonna just move it up into the more yellowy browns. Trouser time! Absolutely. And yeah, I'm just gonna get to work adding those in. Very similar to before, just starting by outlining the area to be filled. Where are my pants? God, you had to put a Lego movie reference in there, didn't you? Now I want to go watch Lego. Well, I want to watch Lego Batman again. That was a great movie. Respect, thank you so much. Yeah, I have a major weakness for any slightly druidy outfit designs. Just fills me with so much joy. Oh, there's an Arboretum south of Oxford as well. That's cool. Love Arboretums. Just botanical gardens as well. Big love for those. There are so many. Back where I lived for a few years in Cornwall near Falmouth, there are loads of beautiful botanical gardens because obviously the weather and the temperature around there is very, very nice. It's like, you know, the English Riviera or whatever they want to call it. So the gardens in Cornwall are just gorgeous. There's so many things I miss about Cornwall. But unfortunately the one thing I don't miss is that it's freaking ages away from anywhere. So if you live in Cornwall, you have to travel just to get out of Cornwall. Alright, so we've outlined the area that is basically inhabited by Trouser, which is a very weird way of saying that. And now, like before, we're just going to go in and remove these nasty white lines that the fill tool leaves behind, which is a fairly quick process. Do I have prices for commissions once they open up listed or somewhere? Yes, so it can be a little particular to each one. In that, depending on the complexity of your character's outfit, whether they have additional items, like, for example, the staff here, all of those things will go into me kind of calculating the final price. The prices you can find on my Patreon are sort of the base prices, if that makes sense. So that'll give you an idea of the base price, and then I believe the last page on my price guide kind of has the information on how much different things like accessories will add. For example, things like animal companions as well can add a fair amount because it's like painting a whole new creature, right? But yeah, that's roughly how I work it out. What do I need to tidy up the skin, so let's just... I'm really pleased with how I painted this hand. This hand brought me a lot of joy. Which is, you know, small victories. We take them where we can. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this brown. I take this brown. grab a darker version, and I'm going to go over the line art just to neaten up the edges of the hand, whilst still allowing it to contrast with the trousers beneath. There we go, just tidying up that area a little bit. Gosh, I'm really pleased with that hand. So silly. Yeah, we've got the trousers ready to go, so let's go ahead and start shading on those. So again, we're going to use the same approach I've been using for other things. New layer on top, clipping mask, multiply, and then magenta. We're going to go ahead, we're going to just fill in that whole area and start shading. So at the moment it's quite similar to the belt, but with some shading and some color correction it won't be. So selecting that lovely white brush and refreshing my Twitch because it is freaking out a little bit. There we go, we're back. We are going to start taking away the shadow. I bring light, is what I should say every time I start this process. And trousers are pretty difficult to shade, actually. They have a very weird shape, which is tough. Do I do couples portraits for characters? Yeah, absolutely. So I am introducing a couple of rules with this round of commissions. Purely that for this style, you see that I'm working on today, which is the full painterly, full body. I'll only be doing one of those per commissioner, purely because they take me an awfully long time, as you can tell just by the stream today, and they take a lot of planning, and they're quite spoon intensive, shall we say. So I'll only be doing one of those per commissioner, and I'm going to have a limited number of slots for those two. Purely because last time I took on too much work, which meant it was like 9 months before I could open commissions again, which I don't want to happen again. I want to be able to open commissions sooner and more regularly. So there'll be a bit of limitation there. Let me just switch that to current layer. But for certain other commission types, so for example, just facial portraits, especially in the flat shaded style, which is a slightly more affordable style, slightly cheaper style that I do, I am more than happy to take multiple characters for those. I often do full parties of those, which is like, I quite like doing that because I can put them all together. But yeah, they'll all be on my commission guide sheet. So yeah, I absolutely will be doing multiples of like that style and stuff. It's just the very complicated style that I won't be kind of taking loads from individuals, just because I want to keep it fair so as many people can get them as possible. Do I have experience with doing sci-fi characters? Yeah, I've done quite a lot of Star Wars characters in the past. I'm afraid I am also going to be saying I'm not going to do mechs this go around. Mechs also take me forever, and if I was to fairly price them, it would be, well, here's a little sci-fi joke for you, astronomical. No, that's not true, but I would have to charge more for things like mechs and fully metal characters than I'd feel comfortable with. Unless someone was really desperate to pay me lots and lots of money to paint one. But other than that, there won't be that many restrictions. Obviously, I won't be painting like extreme, like graphic, not safe for work type stuff. Just because if I do, I can't really put it in most of my online portfolios, for example. And there are slight price increases if you're planning to use it for a commercial like project, so for a commercial stream or podcast. But other than that, it's fairly simple pricing process. Right, let's go back to the big brush, because around the thigh the trousers aren't tight, but they don't have as many creases, so we can do just a large swathe of highlight there. Astromechanical. Oh no, yeah, I noticed Twitch does seem to be juttering a bit. My upload seems to be alright, but Twitch itself on download, as I'm trying to like keep Twitch up on my screen for the chat, is not as happy. It's weird. I don't know if like Twitch is just super busy tonight, maybe. Thank you so much to Can Sand for the follow. Hope you enjoy the stream. Usually I finish at past, but I think I might carry on just a little bit longer tonight because I'm having fun. And we're getting lots done. Gotta ride the wave of productivity, you know? A little bit of blending here and there as we're going along. And then we'll grab the white again for these creases. What should I get for takeaway tonight? I haven't decided, and I think I'm going to do takeaway though. I can't be bothered to go to shops and buy food. Okay, that's most of the basic shading done. Chinese takeaway is actually a very good shout. We have a fantastic local Chinese here that also does Japanese, which is wonderful because I love both. The only drawback is you have to pay by cash, and due to a pandemic, I don't carry cash anymore. So I have to think about it in advance. With reference to I prefer specifics or do I like having a little creative freedom? It honestly, it kind of depends on the character and how specific the commissioner is with what they want. Like if you have a very specific feel or theme in mind, then I probably appreciate more references, purely because if it's not exactly how you want it, I'm gonna have to, like, after 1 or 2 revisions, I have to start obviously charging for revisions, and it can just be a bit easier. But, you know, creative freedom can be very nice sometimes as well, as long as you are prepared for what my brain might do with it. Alright, just doing a bit more of this darker shading, but you can kind of see how, yeah, these trousers are looking pretty cute. Oh, a wedding band! Yeah, absolutely, I can pop that on. No worries at all. That's like an easy detail to add, like later on. No problem at all. Okay, just a few of these little darker areas down here. Lovely, we're almost done with the trousers. Okay, so we've done the shadow, you can kind of see the difference that makes. The next thing to do is to add a bit of highlight. So I'm going to grab that base color, and then I want to grab a slightly yellower tone for the highlight for these trousers. Am I opposed to facial scars on commissions? No, not at all. I mean, I've painted characters which have had like full facial like burn scars and all sorts at this point. So no scars and anything. There's no problem at all with that sort of thing. And when I say like I don't do not safe for work, like I don't mind doing like little bit, you know, blood and a little bit of gore and injury is fine. What I mean by like I don't do like extreme like sexual content because it just becomes difficult to share it on social medias, annoyingly. Just gently adding, like before, just some highlights. I imagine these are like leather breeches or like maybe like fantasy like linen or something. I love linen as a fabric, it's so freaking comfortable. Kind of sold. I've used linen or linen similar fabrics for some projects lately and they're just so airy and nice to work with. No problem, Garvey24. Okie dokie. Ooh, well, Druid gals are like, Druid gals are our specialty. No, not quite, but I love Druids. Druid's one of my favorite classes. Right now, it's probably my favorite class because I'm playing one. I love painting Druids. I just love the cottagecore vibe. As you can probably tell, I'm kind of doing cottagecore a bit today. Just gonna put a little bit dark down here by the seam. Same on the side. And then I'm actually going to go up to, actually no, not quite yet, I need to put in a bit of shadow for these pockets. Yeah, so my next character, if my druid dies, my plan is to go full Harrow the Ninth and play a necromancer wizard. That's my plan. Can I share a bit more about my druid? Yeah, of course. My druid is a vampire, which is like the D&D vampire lineage that you can play now in Van Richten's. And she is delightful. She has a very, criminy, I can't remember the woman's name. Andromeda. She's kind of based, our game has like an ancient Greek vibe to it, and she's based on the legend of Andromeda, who was obviously unjustly kind of sacrificed to the gods because her mom boasted about how beautiful she was and that she was more beautiful than Aphrodite herself or something. And she's a kind of a play on that legend mixed with the Medusa legend, in that she was spirited away because her parents boasted about something to do with her like when she was grown up. Rather than being sacrificed to a monster, she was made into a vampire. And basically she joined this group of vampire druids who punish mortals who basically displease the gods or the titans. Because maximum backstory drama, right? And yeah, we actually had a game on Wednesday. It was very exciting. I've learned a valuable lesson. A valuable D&D lesson. And it is never drop wild shape if you still have hit points left. Because the DM probably isn't finished with you. We went out of a combat thinking, yeah, we've done great. The combat is over. Wonderful. And accidentally tripped 2 encounters at the same time because we slightly split the party. So in one room, myself and the monk in the party were facing off against 4 flying swords. And bear in mind, we're only level 2. I had no wild shapes left, so that sucked. And I had 1 spell slot, which I was trying to conserve because we don't have time for a long rest before we take on the actual boss of the area. So that also sucked. And so we were facing off against 4 flying swords. And then the other 2 party members were accidentally tripped a mimic door. So one of them just got instantly chomped nearly in half by a mimic door. And the other 2 of us were in a different corridor fighting swords. And then our 5th member of the party had just been going down another corridor to grab us some healing potions. So it was like trying to sprint back to the rest of us as fast as possible before we all just got murdered by various things. Oh gosh, yeah, I will certainly not drop wild shape. I hadn't taken any damage in the previous combat in my wild shape form either. Like I had like 39 hit points, which at level 2 is balmy for a druid. Yeah, I won't be making that mistake again. Needless to say. Okay, let's just paint all of these little buckley beds. That's the only thing, right? I thought we were going into like a roleplay heavy encounter because we were meeting like an oracle, very Oracle of Delphi type vibe, and I was sure the next thing we were going to do was have this conversation with this oracle, and nope, the oracle's been kidnapped by a hag, so you're gonna have to go rescue her. Sorry you don't have any wild shapes left. Guess you're gonna have to take a short rest and risk her being murdered. Oops. Hey, I never said that my character was a good adventurer. But great fun times were had. I love that kind of hilarity. Oh, Rusty, thank you very much. That's very, very kind. I wouldn't really know how to describe my accent. I feel like it's generic South England, to be honest. I grew up mostly in Devon and then lived in Cornwall for a bit. So I'm just kind of, I picked it up, I guess it's just a very generic South England accent, I suppose. Although I have been told I do lilt in a sort of Devonshire twang occasionally. Sound like the moles from Redwall. But hey, the moles are cool, so I'm down with that. Yeah, that's why I should let other people do the talking, but where's the fun in that? But then it's also fun to be a 2-headed dog, so swings and roundabouts. I was very lucky, yeah. For thematic reasons, my DM let me also use as one of my wild shape forms a death dog. Even though death dog is technically a monstrosity, my character is very like, her wild shapes are very kind of Cerberus-y, so I was allowed to be a death dog, which was awesome. Oh, I love practical wild shapes as well. Before we started on this current adventure, we were at an inn, and we were absolutely plastered with blood and other nasty bits from our last excursion. So rather than just bathe as herself, she turned into an otter, because then she could just get in like a small barrel and have a bath, rather than have to like actually have a bath. And otters are really adorable, and the party loved it, so I count that as a complete win. Alright, just adding some highlights to these kind of leg belts, I guess is what I'm gonna call them. Straps, probably a better word. That's the thing. I like my players to be quite creative. In my Rime of the Frost Maiden game, I have a character playing a werewolf, and we've altered the werewolf powers as the story's gone on, because she's made a pact with the Frost Maiden herself, to basically have more control over her lupine form in return for losing her damage immunities. Because before, she basically just went on a full rampage whenever the wolf came out. Which was fun, but it did pose a risk to the party, so she struck a deal with Oriel herself. See, that's the thing, I still haven't played a rogue yet, and I think a rogue, after my necromancer, might have to be my next character, my next character. Alright, so with those in place, I'm just going to add a touch of darker shadow shading, and then we can do the bright highlights. And then the buckle. Hey, that's, yeah, Druid with Lycanthropy. We had one of those in the party where I played Reza, my delightful tiefling barbarian. We had a lycanthropic druid who was a werebear, so they were good aligned. So they just went around doing good bear things when the full moon hit, which was hilarious. And they were an utterly fantastic character. Yeah, see, rogues always sound like so much fun. I really want to have a go at playing one at some point. Okay, let's add some little highlights to those emotional support belts, as they've been called. Well, Stu, if you play in my world, you can absolutely be a barbarian. I am in love with the beast barbarian path. It's just delightful. I love me any kind of subclass that adds kind of vague metamorphosis powers. Like, the theme of metamorphosis is there in pretty much all of my character designs. I don't know why, it's just something that is always quite close to me. Yes, that's why I love the beast barbarian and druid. Both are very, very good. I also want to do a Beastmaster Ranger at some point. Raging, smiting, shape change dragon at level 20. Wow. That would be ridiculous. Could you smite though? I guess smiting isn't technically casting a spell, so you could use your spell slots. I don't know, I've never seen anyone multicast a paladin barbarian, but off the top of my head, I can't see why that wouldn't work. Oh yeah, Zealot and Storm Herald are both very, very good options as well. Right, I think these leg buckles are going to be the same silver as these ones. So let's just go ahead and fill those in. You can smite while raging. Okay, well, I've learned something today. Ah, it's interesting. So you would sacrifice the heavy armor of the paladin, but you'd still gain the smite. So which would you take the most levels in is the question. Barbarian, druid, or paladin? Which has the best, like, high-level abilities, I guess, is the question. I know that, like, there are some classes where people don't really like their cap abilities. I think that the ranger was one people don't really take to high levels. But which one has the best, like, high-level stuff? 17 druid. Yeah, I can see that. I guess then that's when you'd be able to transform into the crazy stuff, which makes sense. Okay, nearly done with these. Just adding these just nice metallic highlights. Metallic highlights always run parallel to the kind of the shape of the thing you are shading. That's kind of how to get them looking nice and realistic. Raging dragon. That's it. I'm getting all the good knowledge, good advice tonight. And thank you so much to Yozor Art for the follow. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy what remains of the stream. Okay, that's that one, and then let's just put a lighter tone on this one. I think, yeah, I've played an Oath of the Ancients Paladin once, but it was only for a one-shot, and that was really fun. I like Paladins, they're like good jocks. Oh, the unlimited wild shapes thing is just delicious. I'll probably be solo classing Anemone, my vampire, purely because I've never played a character and got it to like higher than about level 11. And I want to experience all of the high level cool class stuff that you can get. Okay, well, we have got so much done today. We've done the coat, we've done the breastplate, we've done the trousers. It's so exciting. This piece is going to be probably, I'm going to try and get them finished tonight, I think. But having said that, I think this is probably a good place to call it for this evening because I need to look into the potentials of dinner because it's most certainly time to eat food. So in the meantime, I'm just going to drop some links in chat. First of all, my Twitter, if you enjoyed my stream and you want to keep up with my artwork, new pieces that I'm posting, as well as when I'm streaming, doing commissions or giveaways, any of that sort of stuff, do give my Twitter a follow. It's like my main social hub. I also have an Instagram, so if you prefer using Instagram for that side of things, do give me a follow on there. I put all my art on Instagram as well. Next up, ArtStation. You can basically just find my my full portfolio on there. Not much more to say than that. I mentioned earlier, but the music in my channel is by an artist named Kai Engel. You can find their stuff on the Free Music Archive. It's really good royalty-free music that's just great for ambience and D&D and all sorts of things. No deviant art, Eladrin, not for you. Sorry, not today. Next up, if you missed the start of the stream and would like to go back and watch it or any of my other past streams, I upload the VODs on a regular basis to my YouTube channel. I'm almost caught up now. Just give me a couple more days and I'll be caught up and I'll have today's stream up there as well. I also have a few other series that I'm working on. There is a Destiny 2 lore series that I'm currently in the middle of making, which is basically a look into the really cool cosmic horror fiction of the game Destiny. Highly recommend it if you enjoy that sort of genre. And finally, my Patreon. If you want to throw a bit of support my way, Patreon subs and Twitch subs are both really wonderful ways to support artists who stream like me. If you have a Twitch Prime sub going spare, do please consider throwing it my way. It honestly does make a big difference and I'm very, very grateful. Cool. For now, I think that's everything. So I will be back next week. I would like to do a bonus stream on Monday, because Monday is my birthday, and it would be fun to stream, work on some of my OCs or something. Have a nice kind of chill birthday stream. So hopefully I will see you then on Monday. So have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay cozy, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.